See, if I don't slurp it, I just burn my lips. Sorry. It always makes me giggle because I think about the people who are absolutely outraged. Oh, it's disgusting how he slurps his tea. Oh, it just makes me want to do it more. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another 5 Fact Friday. Yet another 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Loudon. This is Moving Home with Charlie. And every week on a Friday, I do a video where I report the 5, it's actually 6 today, but the 5 newly reported pieces of information that in my view are the most significant, positive or negative, for the housing market. And by the way, positive to me means more transactions. Negative to me means less transactions. So housing market activity is a good thing, and anything that kills housing market activity or transaction times or transaction volumes is a bad thing for everyone. I will be updating you on where I'm standing on my house price expectations. But quickly, to go to the 5 facts for those of you who haven't got time to listen to me ramble for however long I'm going to ramble for. Let's just quickly whiz through them. So number 1, Rightmove's house price index is not a house price index, it's an asking price index, and it misleads yet again, suggesting in the language and how it's reported that people are increasing their asking prices. Not the case. That's fact number 1. Rightmove's house price index, will go into it. Zoopla, fact number 2, reported that there are 20% more homes for sale than a year ago, and that's the highest level of unsold homes now for 5 years. Number 3, there is a mortgage industry website news article out today saying that there are, I think, 700,000, 500,000 roughly already have missed a repayment, and another 600,000 expected, all the other way around, I can't remember, but it's 1.1 million total who've missed a payment or expected to miss a payment, putting them in arrears. Someone on Twitter said, oh, that's not arrears, missing a payment. Literally, it's the definition of arrears. If you miss a payment, you are in arrears and have to make that payment. I mean, tell me if you disagree. Let me know why you disagree if you do. Fact number 4, mortgage rates are rising across the board, back above 6% in some cases. This is not good for housing market transactions. And number 5, the US economy put its growth figures out this week, and they really caught everyone by surprise by how much lower than expected they were. And the reason I think that's relevant for us is because I think that's a very strong influence on what's likely to happen with UK Bank of England base rates as well. All right, and then there's one more fact, which is that the Renters Reform Bill was passed, or is going to be passed, and it's cleared a hurdle, but the Section 21 evictions are not going to be part of it. They've been delayed pretty much indefinitely. We'll come on to it. So those are the 5/6 facts of today. Quick hello to everyone. Jacek, hi there. Leo, Jim Bob. Oh, there's so many of you. Fee, Andrew Taylor, Marcus Aurelius. That's a great name, by the way. AM, Nick Woodward, Tina B, Phil French, Jim Pops, Acid 88. Afternoon. Ricky Heath, Visual Ghoul, Tufail Khan, Ruth, Bite Your Asp. Did you miss the slurp? There's another one for you, just in case you missed it. If I'm not careful, I will spit it out all over my keyboard. Jill Hayes, Nick Woodward, hi guys, AM, okay, Mr. French, Richard's Racing Mad. Hi, Rich. Ruth and Wild Goose. Okay, hi everybody. Sorry, I need to get on, don't I? This is I'm really, you can tell, it's good to be back. I haven't been doing nearly as many videos as I normally would recently because I've been really getting deep under the table with Best Agent, with a house price index, and with getting everything ready to actually start to make a difference to the housing market, not just to talk about making a difference. And there are only so many hours in the day. And I love doing the videos, and the videos are fantastic. And I get lots of great feedback. I've got so many unanswered questions. I fantasize, and it sounds like a strong word, but I really think one day, maybe just late one night, I'm just going to just switch on a live stream and just go through all of the questions and comments I've had on a live stream and just clear the backlog of good questions. I've screenshotted them all and saved them on my phone, so they're there to go through. But without further ado, let's start with fun fact of the week, number one, which is Rightmove. So Rightmove reports that the average asking price of property coming to the market rose by 1.1% this month, or £4,200 to £372,000. I would like to point something out, right? Rightmove says that the average house price, it's the average asking price, and they don't hide that, but they don't volunteer it, is £372,000 compared to the Land Registry's average house price of £280,000. That's an over £80,000 difference between the Land Registry's actual index average, which isn't even an average, and Rightmove's average. And that is a very big difference, 80 grand between what Rightmove says is average house prices and what the Land Registry says. So Rightmove's asking price index, which is what it is, and it should always be referred to as an asking price index, is misleading, number one, because it includes the prices of houses only when they first list, and it excludes all the price reductions. And it's also misleading because a lot of those don't even sell. They don't show even the asking prices of stuff that does sell, let alone the actual sold prices. And the problem is that this data is used by, I'm not going to say it, people up and down the country as evidence. Evidence, I tell you. A cold, hard gospel truth. Rightmove said so. And so sellers, humans who are all as susceptible to confirmation and optimism bias as any of us, go, oh, really? Well, Rightmove said it. It must be true, right? And this leads into the jaws of the overvaluing agents. By that I mean, there are agents who overvalue not because they want to, not because they like it, because they don't have a choice, they won't get any business otherwise. But there are some agents who deliberately and knowingly polish their teeth white, smile at you and go, we can get more than that. We can get more than everyone else. We can get someone, can't they see how beautiful your home is? It's just amazing. What do they mean? 350,000. We can get you 450,000. No problem. Just sign my 6-month sole agency contract. Ding. And Rightmove's house price index is the number one contributing factor to this problem. And when those people sign those long sole agency agreements and sit there thinking, oh, we're going to get 50 or 100,000 pounds more than we thought for our house, and they start spending that money, and then they just set up for disappointment. They won't sell. They'll sit there for ages. It's just a painful thing, and it kills transaction times and it kills transaction volumes. I've linked, so every single thing I'm showing you here is linked to on the link below in my blog. I've got all the links there. So if you want to go and read the full thing, I recommend you do. And actually, while you're on Rightmove, there are parts here that are definitely worth looking at. London trends, if you're in London. Affordable. This is interesting. Time to secure a buyer in London has fallen really rapidly in the last 2 months. That suggests that there are sellers dropping prices, because Christopher Watkin did his weekly house price stats video and showed that in London, the gap between asking prices and sold prices is the biggest in the country. I think it's over 30%. The average newly listed asking price and the average asking price at exchange is very, very big. So that you can read what you like into that. There's a full report. Go and have a look, because they do some regional price activity and trends, regional trends, and the regional stuff is marginally less unhelpful than the national stuff. But actually, sorry, I want to go just to the headline here again. Where is there? No, sorry, I'm going to skip on to the next one. So, right, Zoopla, fact number 2. On This Is Money, it was reported that homes for sale at a 5-year high. Will house prices fall? There are 20% more homes on the market than this time last year, Zoopla says. So, for the uninitiated, for the new to this, the more homes that there are for sale, the more choice buyers have, and the more competition sellers have when trying to sell, and therefore there is downward pressure on prices. So it's the most homes on the market for 5 years, 20% more than this time last year. and mortgage rates are rising. We'll come on to that in a minute. Supply and demand imbalance could lead to price falls, some experts say. Yes, let's just get on before I start ranting. Okay, on to the next point. So that's a salient, valid point, isn't it? Right? That the unsold stock, and this is to be expected because if you remember, Rightmove reported in February that they've had the largest spike in new home valuations or homes coming to market ever. So it suggests a lot more people trying to sell. Now, I wonder if this next point, fact number 3, might have anything to do with that. 492,000 borrowers at risk of missing payments, and 670,000 have already missed a payment over the last year. So that's 1.16 million borrowers either have missed or are at risk, in other words, expected to. So nearly 500,000 mortgage holders are projected to miss a payment within the next 6 months. Now, rising living costs, even though inflation has come down, it's still way above target, and living costs and escalating energy bills are still going up, right? So this whole article, have a read of it, because, okay, you might argue it has no effect on house prices. I would disagree, because a spiking number of people in mortgage arrears and a spiking amount of mortgage arrears is going to lead to more people having to sell, not because they wanted to, but because they have to. And that will put even more properties on the market on top of the 5-year record properties we've got right now. So it's a lot, it is a leading indicator, this article, of a lot more properties coming to the market. The latest figures should alarm the approximately 1.6 million mortgage holders expected to have to renegotiate their agreements this year, suggesting that many more could be pushed towards greater financial instability. Okay, have a read, decide for yourself. Don't ever trust or believe anything I say. Hear it, consider it, take it into consideration along with everything else, right? Read these articles yourself, make up your own mind. Don't let me or anyone else make up your mind for you. Just, I'm presenting the facts as they are for you to then figure out for yourself. That's fact number 3. So number 1, Rightmove. Number 2, Zoopla saying lots of stock. Number 3, mortgage arrears reported to be rising and expected to rise further. Number 4, the Daily Telegraph. Homeowner pain as mortgages soar above 6%. They're talking about rates, of course. Lenders react to uncertainty over when Bank of England will cut borrowing costs. Can I please ask everybody to cast your mind back to earlier this year when everyone was saying they're definitely going to cut rates, they're definitely going to cut rates, they're definitely going to cut rates. The market's priced in lots of rate cuts. Rate cuts are happening this year. There's no question about it. And now look at this. It's the point I'm trying to make is it is extremely unwise to make major purchase assumptions, as a lot of buyers did at the beginning of this year, based on the assumption that, well, they're going to be cutting rates anyway, and that's going to make house prices go back up. So yeah, it's a good time to buy now. By the way, I'm going to come on to house price expectations and when it's a good time to buy at the end of these facts. Okay. So the number of mortgages with rates over 6% has increased by 10% since the start of March, according to analyst Money Facts. Major lenders, including TSB, Halifax, and HSBC, have increased prices on a selection of their mortgages in the past 2 weeks. By the way, guys, for those of you watching this live, straight after this, I'm on the Broker Collective, a podcast with Lewis Shaw and James Lewin, I think it is, and someone else. I'm their guest this week. It's not being broadcast live, but I'm going to be having a 1-hour debate with those mortgage brokers, and I look forward to seeing how that goes. And I'll put a link to it when it's done and published. I'll make sure you can all find it so you can hear that. But yeah, that's what's happening on mortgage rates. So no doubt we'll be discussing this today. First-time buyers are likely to be the worst affected, as it is loans for those with the lowest amount of equity, 5 and 10%, which have the highest rates. What does that tell you, guys? It means that those are the loans they're least comfortable making. Why would they be least comfortable making low deposit loans, I wonder. The average 2-year fixed rate for buyers with 5% equity is now 6%, according to the latest data from Rightmove, up from 5.9. It's only a small increase, right? I mean, these are not jumps in mortgage rates. But the point is, any increase, as with the fact that any decrease in mortgage rates is welcome, any increase is unwelcome because it will have an effect on the number of people borrowing, how much they can borrow, and their confidence to buy. Right. So borrowers in limbo about when they're likely to see costs come down. I just want to point something out to you guys. It is not a safe assumption at all to think that rates are going to come down anytime soon. Perhaps they will. We all hope that they will. I think that they probably will. Actually, no, I hear myself say that out loud, and something inside says, no. Wait till I come on to the final fact, and you'll see why I don't think that there may be no rate cuts this year. Recently, I said my best guess, if I was betting, would be one rate cut this year of 0.25%. Even if that happens, that's not going to make a big difference to the housing market. I mean, of course, if that happens, everybody will be like, yay, rates have peaked and now they're plummeting and they're going to come flying down and house prices are going to go to the moon. So if you agree with my philosophy of be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best, when it comes to mortgage rate expectations, being prepared for the worst means if we buy now at today's mortgage rates because we can afford to, and mortgage rates go up further, that might be another factor that contributes to the likelihood of house prices falling further. If you are a 5 or 10% deposit borrower and house prices fall, the risk of negative equity becomes very high. If you're not moving for a long time, maybe that doesn't matter. You factor it in. But the point is, all of these are factors that are going to affect what's happening to house prices in the future. That's why I'm talking about it. So it is, look at that big, long, flat line of people thinking rates are going to come down, they're going to come down, they're going to come down. Oh, they haven't come down. And now lenders are putting the rates up because they don't think they're going to come down. Right. Next fact. This is on X. This is an American website, an American commentator, the Cabesi letter. But I want to read it to you because it's important. This is just from a couple of days ago. For those who do not understand what just happened, first, Q1 2024 GDP growth slowed to just 1.6%, which is less than half of the 3.4% from the previous quarter. That reading is roughly 50% below Goldman Sachs' expectations. Right? So the growth rate in the US economy, it might be a blip. I don't know. I'm not a US economy expert at all. But it's come way, way, way below expectations. But it gets even worse. At the same time, the US core PCE price index, in other words, inflation, went up from 2%, or soared from 2% to 3.7%. This crushed the estimates of 3.4% and suggests further that inflation is on the rise. We have a weakening economy with rising inflation, the worst possible outcome for the Federal Reserve, which for those of you who don't know, is America's equivalent to the Bank of England, and they set rates. Now, it's America, Charlie. Why does that affect us over here? Well, I am of the strongly held view that the Bank of England, for reasons I won't go into now, is actually tied very closely to doing what American rates do, because if they, for a number of reasons, political reasons and economical reasons and financial reasons, one of them being, just one of them, that if the Bank of England lowers the base rate when America doesn't, it weakens the pound against the dollar on the foreign exchange market. It makes our imports cost more, and therefore it is an inflationary thing for the Bank of England to do. Cutting the UK base rate when America doesn't cut the base rate is an inflationary pressure for the UK, which is why, although they are theoretically allowed to do whatever they like, they're independent. I don't think that they can or they will. And if America has to raise its Federal Reserve rate, then the chances of the Bank of England having to do the same, in my opinion, are quite high. It's just what I think, guys. And to me, that is a factor that definitely should be taken in. If you want to go look into that more, I've linked to that post below and you can go see it right now. One more little post I saw from a follower on X today. Jonathan Lishawa says NatWest's new mortgage lending fell by 47% year on year. So Q1 24 compared with Q1 2023, which according to the Bank of England was 40% less across all lenders than in Q1 2022. So for those of you who remember watching my interview with Russell Quirk on his podcast, do you remember when I said to him, mortgage lending is down? He went, no, it's not. No, it's not. It really is, Russell. It really is. It really is. Right. Time for the slurp. The purpose of slurping, as Mr. French quite correctly points out, the purpose of slurping is to cool the fluid entering your mouth. It's actually quite cold now anyway, so I don't need to slurp anymore. You are spared. You are spared the slurping. Right, got some good questions coming in. I will come to questions at the end. I want to answer the following point first. Because I get new followers all the time, I often get people asking the same question, which is, what does this mean, Charlie? Does this mean it's a good time to buy or a bad time to buy? And it bears repeating. If you have found a home that you want to live in, that you can afford, and that you will not be at risk of being stuck in if you end up in negative equity when you need to move, and you want and need a home, always buy now. Always buy now. Always buy at that time. You found a home, you want to live there, you need a home, you can afford it. You assess that your risk of negative equity is either acceptable or low enough not to worry. Always buy now. It doesn't matter what's going to happen to house prices if you're buying a place to stay in there long term. Now, if you're worried about what's happening and you want to sell after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you do need to pay attention to house prices if you've got a large loan to value mortgage. What I would say is that, as you can see from all the news today, there are gathering factors that are going to accelerate the downward price trends. By the way, I've got an anecdote here. I can't say who it is because it's someone I know, but it's someone who I actually met through the channel, because I discovered them through the channel, they discovered me. They had a house in London 2 years ago, and at the time, the Zoopla valuation of that house was 1.6/1.7 million pounds. It was a house in northwest London. And because of my channel, partly because of my channel, they decided to sell the house. They didn't get that much for it because obviously overvaluing, right? But that same house, the same property, the Zoopla valuation has gone from what was 1.6 and 1.7 million to 1.1/1.2 million. It's about a 35% fall, isn't it? It's an anecdote. It's in one area. I have never suggested, and nor do I suggest now, that all property prices will come down 35%. That's not what I ever said or suggested. So let me update you on my thinking. I am still expecting actual house prices, as opposed to bastardized averaged figures that aren't even average, but actual house prices will, when they finish the slide that they are currently on, they will have come down around 35% on average, but with quite big regional variations, and also quite big variations depending on what level of the market you're at, whether you're at the first time buyer level or whether you're at the large detached house level. I think the falls at the higher end of the market, the larger detached houses, are already much larger than the rest of the market and will be the largest falls of all. And I think one of the reasons for that is that houses, large detached houses that were affordable to heat and live in, are no longer affordable to heat and live in, as the cost of living crisis bites and inflation bites. I think that the variation in price falls will be when we reach the end of the slide. I don't think anywhere in England or Wales. I don't know about Scotland and Northern Ireland, right? I'm talking about England and Wales, land registry stuff. I know that prices in Scotland and Northern Ireland have been going up, although I'm getting reports that they're starting to turn there as well. But I don't have insight to Scotland and Northern Ireland. So, if you are a first-time buyer in an area of the country where there's high demand, prices aren't falling as much in that area as in other areas, you may not have seen any price falls yet. There might even be some areas where certain properties prices have continued to rise in the last year or two. And I don't dispute the fact that there are some people who've seen the prices of some properties rising in some areas, in some markets. That'll be mostly at the lower end. Okay. But when the slide is over, I am estimating, and it's just my expectation. I'm not predicting. If you want to know the difference between a prediction and an expectation, go and look it up in the fucking dictionary. It's not my job to explain English to you. My expectation, I expect and hope for the best, but I also prepare for the worst. It's an expectation. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's not a prediction. I'm not saying this will happen. That would be a prediction. I've never said that this will happen. I've always said this is what I think is going to happen. It's my expectation. And I think the worst falls will be around about 50%. Nominal. This is before adjusting for inflation. And I know that to a lot of people, this just seems absolutely impossible. Charlie, it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, guys. I think it is. I still think it is. I reconsider my view a lot of the time. The trouble is that when people talk about house price crashes, which I've never said there's going to be a house price crash. I've always said that house prices never crash. They slide. They slide quite fast sometimes. But the media talks about previous house price downturns as crashes. And that makes people who haven't witnessed or experienced those before think that a crash is like a stock market crash. Oh, house prices are going to go ka-splat. They don't ever do that. Not least because the transaction process is so slow. And it takes so long to come through. So the slide is slow. And it's also slower this time round than it was in 2008 because there is a much, much higher number of people on fixed rate mortgages than there were last time. Okay. Taking a long time to come off them, and that has definitely cushioned the effect. And there's been the bank forbearance, this extra 12 months of like grace period that the banks are giving before they take your home off you. But I don't know about you guys. When you think about your people, your network, your group of people that you know, getting into financial difficulty, which official figures confirm increasing numbers of people are, is a truly hideous thing to happen to anyone at whatever level you are, right? When you've had a life that for 10 or 12 or 15 years has been comfortable, stable, you haven't been reckless with your spending, and then suddenly that income shrinks or stops and you can't get any more of it, or your business fails, and you've got a house and a family and you're wondering, Jesus, what do we do? No one shouts about it publicly. A lot of people are experiencing that stress in privacy, behind closed doors, wondering what to do. And I think that's been happening for a while. I think it's gathering pace. And I think that this is why I've been urging people who might need to sell to do so without delay. And of course, the higher up the property value chain you are, where the falls are faster, if you are someone that's been affected by a financial setback of one kind or another, the higher up the value chain you are, the worse that setback's going to be. And that's where the worst house price falls are happening already. And this is why I've been saying since 2022, if you think you're going to need to sell, don't delay. Now, I think we have in fact seen the first real surge in properties coming onto the market. We've already seen from Rightmove's own figures that prices at the top end are falling, even the asking prices are falling faster at the top end than they are at the lower end. We've already seen from land registry figures that detached house prices have fallen at larger percentages than other ones. And I think that, because there's no collective real-time data for this, it's impossible to report on it. But I fear that we are that there are a lot of people in a lot of financial stress who are very, very worried, and are thinking, and are still delusional about how long the sales process is actually going to take, what's actually happening in the market today, and therefore they're going to lack the sense of urgency they need, if they're people who must sell, to actually hurry up and do it. Because everyone they talk to is going to say, hey, it's okay, everything's fine. And the news tells you that everything's fine. And it's not if you're one of those people. And if you're one of those people, you've got increasing levels of competition, more and more property coming in the market alongside yours. It's going to get harder and harder to sell. There's going to be more and more choice for buyers. Mortgage rates are going up, which means affordability is coming down, even though house prices are coming down. Mortgage affordability is reducing. There's no, when you look at the UK or the England and Wales housing market at a macro level, there's no good news. Now, Christopher Watkin would say, oh, but last week there was a record. It was the highest week of gross sales agreed for 2 years. Now, that's sales agreed. It's the highest in 2 years. Well, that's not a big deal because it wasn't that high 2 years ago. But there is also a very high number of fall-throughs that they're increasing as well, and withdrawals. Like there's a 12% jump in properties being withdrawn from the market. Now, that's a good thing if those are properties because they're time wasters. They're not. They were persuaded onto the market by agents saying we're going to get you £1 billion for your property, and they just realised actually we're not going to get it taken off. I mean, I hope that non-serious sellers take their properties off the market to allow serious sellers a better chance of selling. Right, that's quite a lot of rambling. Do we have? Oh, there's so much to talk about, guys, and especially when I haven't been doing videos for a long time. Visual Ghoul says Russell Quirk should go to Rwanda. Yeah, Jill Hayes. Even Chris Watkins was discussing evident overvaluing on his show this morning. He was. He's as worried about it as I am, and he agrees with me that it is like shooting yourself in the foot as an agent. And this is why Rightmove's house price index is so unhelpful. It makes everything worse. Not intentionally, perhaps, but it does make everything worse. Yachek D says, Charlie, is it possible you're underestimating human desire to denial? I don't think so. I know that denial is incredibly powerful, especially when things get difficult. Just having a quick scan through here. Mad Mountain Man says, East Devon, we have houses that have been on the market coming up a year now, still not reduced. And the EAs are continuing to list new to market. And see, so still not reduced. There are still sellers, and there are people who I know and love doing this right now, who are waiting for the market. I've said it a million times. If you're waiting in this market, it's getting away from you. It's falling further and further. Jim Bob talking about layoffs. Yeah, you see, Paris Hilton says estate agents in London are delusional. It's not. It's not estate agents being delusional. There is a paradox for estate agents. They need to tell sellers what sellers want to hear in order for the estate agent to win business off their competitor. But by doing so, by overvaluing to win the instruction, they are now making it harder for themselves to sell. And all they can do is wait and hope that the seller will drop the price with them. So, you're quite right, Paris Hilton. A lot of flats at the 300, 325 mark are more like 250 to 280. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. But the sellers don't want to hear it. And when you have 3 different agents all come around and all overvalue your flat, let's say your flat's worth 250, and you get one that says 280, one that says 300, one that says 320, you think, oh, well, I'm being reasonable. I went with the middle one, 300. Your asking price is 20% higher than it's worth in that scenario. Um, you guys having lots of great conversations here. Right. Do we have any last minute questions before I go? Yeah, Cybermuse says the Federal Reserve can't lower rates because of inflation in America, which means the Bank of England can't lower rates, in my opinion. I think they're going to be going up. So, guys, many of you may have seen, I put a post up yesterday about Rightmove. I put it on X and I put it on YouTube and on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on my website, on my blog. I want to make something really clear here. Rightmove's existence as a website for people to find property on is a good thing. It's a great website. Rightmove as a business proposition to many agents is good. It helps agents market, and they pay money, they pay a subscription to be on there, and they get leads from it, and it's a viable thing for them. For a lot, not for all of them, but for a lot of them. And it's a very convenient site to use to look for property as well. So when I post about Rightmove, I'm not objecting to their existence or their website or anything like that. It is the fact that they've cornered the housing market, as in the marketplace where people go to look for houses. They have cornered that. Right? Yes, there's Zoopla. Yes, there are other websites that's on the market. There's Best Agent coming very soon, in hopefully quite a big way, I think. The monopoly is what's causing the problem. I won't go into it now. It takes a while to explain, but Rightmove, and they haven't consciously decided to do this. This is a natural result of them running their business very well for a long time, right? And for them, and they are doing what they can. They are cranking up their prices. But it's not healthy when you hold a gun to your customer's head and say, that's the new price, sign up or get out. That's not healthy behavior. It's costing people's jobs in a estate agency for some smaller agents who can't afford it when their income is down 20, 30% because of the transaction volumes falling. And when they put out their house price index that the uninitiated just believe, because why wouldn't you? They can't lie. They're a PLC. They can't lie. Rightmove must be telling the truth. I haven't got time to investigate it myself, but surely they're telling the truth, right? It leads to people expecting too much money for their home. That leads to estate agents having to agree. And it leads to stuff not selling, people not selling when they need to, transactions taking longer. It's bad for the whole market. It's bad for transactions. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for social mobility. And one of my objectives with Best Agent, with the house price index, with the support of agents around the country, is going to be to end their monopoly. Just their monopoly. It's a goal, it's a target, it's an aspiration, it's an ambition. But with enough agents, it can be done, because transparency is incredibly powerful. And if with the Best Agent public house price index, which will be reporting exchange prices in near real time, it will no longer be possible to lie or mislead about house prices, because actual paid prices will be reported and viewable and transparently reported. So the whole data set will be made available to people to scrutinize it. And we only need enough transactions per month being reported to match the land registry's initial sample size. And that is doable with enough agents to support it. Now, there are plenty of agents who, if they could wave a magic wand, would say, make overvaluing go away forever. Make it so that estate agents have to compete on service level, on reputation, on transaction times. Make that the thing that people choose their agent on. Who is the best at their job? Remove someone's guessed valuation as a factor in your choice of agent. We can do that with transparency of actual house prices, right? And that's why I think, because with that index, we'd get a lot of publicity in the press and people would be able to compare it alongside Rightmove's. And Rightmove's would be, well, this is just people's first listed asking price. We all know that that's rubbish. This is exchange prices happening right now. Okay, cool. It would generate traffic to Best Agent enough that actually it might just take the edge off Rightmove's monopoly enough that they are forced to be more reasonable with their customers, negotiate again on customer price, and to perhaps even rethink their house price index or the makeup, or perhaps consider publishing more of the sold price data. or the average reductions, or how many reductions there are. All the stuff they never talk about, because I don't think it's because Rightmove doesn't want to talk about it. It's got the data and it could. But Rightmove's largest corporate customers, I'm not saying all corporate customers, but most of the largest corporate agents rely completely on overvaluing to win business. And as Rightmove's largest customers, they have a lot of influence and sway. And if Rightmove started publishing house price data that undermined their largest clients' ability to overvalue, those large clients would be very unhappy about it. That is why I believe Rightmove doesn't publish more realistic house price data. Guys, I've got to go. I'm doing another podcast right now and time got away from me. Thank you for watching. Please find me on my website below. And if you need mortgage brokers, I've got fantastic ones I work with, and a conveyancer and a search back provider. And my first time buyer offer email template link is below. I will see you on the next one. 800 of you. Oh my God. There's no one at work. I suppose it's lunch hour, wasn't it? Have a great one. I'll see you soon.